All right, sir. So I'm going to ask you certain questions, sir. Feel free. So my first question is, sir, Professor Siva, given that you've worked extensively for many decades with students now, what do you think is the main reason of rise in suicides in top institutions in India?
So let me begin with saying I'm also very sad that this is continuing to happen. And to me, I feel there is one particular reason that is not a problem to solve just by having one idea, and it is this. Let us say I have diabetes, right? Now it shows up in some form. Let us say the form is I'm getting tired. So what do I do? By getting tired, I realize, oh, okay, I have less energy. And what I do is I consume a little bit, and that increases my diabetes. And this goes on. The reason is I have not found the root cause of why this is happening. In a way, I feel even today, we are only doing this, which is eating more to solve diabetes problem. Just put it as equivalent, you will understand what I'm talking about. Right? Eating right also doesn't help in terms of diabetes. I need to figure out what is it that is the root cause and work on that root cause. Right? And the other thing that is very important is if there is one solution that fits all, everybody will solve this problem. The last one is I cannot approach a problem like this, which is complex, by a single direction. It has to be a multi-pronged. So this is my understanding of what is happening. Finally, how does it happen? Now, I'll give you an analogy so that you will understand this. Let us say you're a kid and you're playing with the kid and say, oh, okay, there's a small step from which you ask the kid, can you jump from that? Yeah, yes, I can jump. And it jumps. So you increase it to, let's say, stool height or chair height and ask the same question. So if you move on and on and on, oh, okay, above the shelf, can you jump? The kid will start to now think before doing it, right? So every one of us has a threshold of being able to take the emotional overload. It may be different for different people, but there is a threshold beyond which I will hesitate going beyond that. That threshold of emotional overload, I think, is a reason. If it is crossed, then you don't know what is happening, what you're doing, and you just do something, an act that ends up with a very sad uh, outcome to the society, right? So if I have to look at that problem, I have to look at it. If that is the only problem I have to solve, let us say, I have to look at it and say, okay, there is this threshold. I know the threshold value, right? I'm just approaching it as a science professor or engineering professor.
Yes.
Okay, there is some that particular thing is the failure threshold, right? Beyond which, if I bend it more, it will fail. Now, I need to find out whether it is reaching that and ask the question, does it need some bolstering? Does it need something by which it can reduce, etc., etc., right? As long as it does not touch the threshold, that action will not happen, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about one side of it. There is also the clinical side of it. I'm not touching that right now. Okay, I'm looking at an ordinary person going through
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Now, you all know that we are a package of neurons. Sorry, I'm just putting it this way.
Yeah.
But we are a package of neurons, right? And we are wired differently. And I may switch on or switch off certain characteristics of mine based on the circumstances,
Yes.
right? And this is something that we have borrowed from animals, animal kingdom. In a way, we are also animals, right?
Yes.
And we grew our neocortex, and therefore we are able to go beyond what the regular animals could do and think, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, what happened is when that facility, when that ability was available, and I could now get rid of all the other threats that are possible. No lion will come to my house and kill me, right? But unfortunately, now the lion is inside the house, not in terms of anything else, but the anxiety that they go through.
Yeah.
The circumstances force the lions inside the house.
Yeah.
Now, some can encounter the lion, but many will succumb to the lion.
Yeah.
That is where we ask that question: how do we make sure that as a human being, I have started to grow from the age of 0, and my parents have been taking care of me. Of course, they take care of me. They took care of me as much as possible in their own style.
Yeah.
There were concerns, there was happy moments, etc., etc. But for them, the growth was in terms of certain parameters.
Yeah.
When I asked my friend this question, so what do you want your son to be? His answer is just baffled me. He said, I want him to be a good person and a happy person. I said, salutations to you. Because that was the parameter by which he would have nurtured the kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, the possibilities of doing that is not as great as the fortunate ones who could do this. And the net result is that the children may not be born with OCDs and other things,
Yeah.
but develop such, can I call it as disabilities or challenges that grow up, right? Today, when we talk about disability, we are only talking about the physical disability, but
Yeah.
not the other, because it is hidden.
Hidden. Yeah. You can't see it.
You can't see it, you can't read it,
Yeah.
right? And therefore, it's a harder problem to tackle, right? Whether at all a person is going through the challenge is not easy, because every person is also handling the challenge through putting a facade in front of the society, right? This is what is happening today. I'm not blaming parents, but parents also have to have an understanding of this when the children grow.
You think the parents?
You can't put the blame on school and the college, even if it is a residential college, because it is much later that the kid has come there. The circumstances is very different. There are switches that would have probably gotten switched on, right? Which they did not face. For example, if I am a very good cricketer, I should face Shane Warne. I should face Brett Lee. Of course, I'm a little older in terms of the names that I'm bringing up, but I should be able to face those challenges step by step.
Right.
And if I'm able to face those challenges with the right frame of mind,
Yeah.
then I look at Everest as a challenge than a difficulty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And therefore, there is that thought process, that is the way of thinking that has to evolve in a kid. It cannot happen just in one day, 1 year in college.
Right. But
Richa,
so why does it increase over
yeah, I'll tell
time?
you. I'll tell you. Richa, when they come
Yeah.
to a college like ours, which is
Yes.
IIT,
Yes.
it is heavy competition.
Yes.
And now many other things, the distractions.
Yeah.
I'm not able to concentrate because there are distractions.
Yeah.
There is nobody to tell me you do this, you do this, you do this. I have a process manager sitting at home, not here. I have to be independent. I have to look at the people who are, I'm equal among others. And it's very difficult for me to digest because I've not seen that circumstance, right? Some unlearn and relearn as to how to face this challenge and find out their own feet when it comes to this. Unfortunately, some of them go through pressures. It could be external or it could be internal.
Mm.
I'm using tennis over and over, but please pardon me for that. Federer was
Yeah.
at the brink of winning, but what caught him was this anxiety. Will I win? That was it, right? And this routinely happens to at least about 90% of the kids who enter college, right? The management was related to nature and nurture,
Mm.
not one single, right? The nature is how we are wired. The nurture is how wiring happened during growth.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just putting it in a very scientific, in
Yeah.
a manner that we understand as engineers and scientists.
Yes.
But
Yes.
that's basically if
Yeah.
I'm able to focus on and
Mm.
see how that can be taken care of. That is one side of it. The other side, which is the external side, also should be something that is nurturing, right? Should, yes, I'm concerned. I care about the growth of the student. A tree cannot grow just like that to a very tall tree. It needs a step by step growth, and I need to allow for that. What happens is a step. Suddenly, there is a step that happens when they get into a college like IIT. How do I know? We call it as regularize, Richa. Regularize is
Yeah.
smoothen those corners.
Yeah.
How do I regularize, smoothen those corners so that I, as a human being, is able to take those emotions that come about because of this?
Yeah.
Right? Emotions could be anxiety, it could be frustration, it could be able to juggle among many things that one has to go through. And this poses a problem in many kids. And therefore, if I look at the external part of it, let us say the struggle is to do with something that the external circumstance can tweak to a certain extent to accommodate for such a challenge, which may be a sharp corner. Right? We at IIT Madras, Richa, have been working on this external side also,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
I want to beat somebody, and if I have the stick available nearby, I will use the stick.
Yeah.
That's natural.
Mm.
And therefore, it is what WHO has suggested a beautiful set of guidelines.
Yeah.
And if I follow, I can probably take care of about 60 to 70% of what can be done.
Mm.
And from an external point of view, I'll come to the internal point of view, but external point of view, how the system can help the individual grow
To grow.
bit by bit to take up the challenge.
Yeah.
So we at IIT Madras recently did a wonderful exercise of curriculum revision.
Mm.
Right? We said, okay, let me instead of making a tall step, let me make that step into 2 steps,
Yeah.
right? So that the kid can now easily climb
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever those steps are. But
Mm.
we took care of that particular thing.
Mm.
We also asked the question, what is it that is too difficult
Mm.
for a student to take?
Mm.
Of course, it is failure. Of course, different definition of failure is very different for different people. So what we asked is, who would be that person who would see too many challenges and include this systemic challenges also to make it difficult and therefore reach its threshold. Right?
Yeah.
We said today we don't have any failure grade.
Mm.
We have a grade which is to be grade.
Mhm.
Means I'll do that again later and complete it.
Mm.
Right? There's no failure. It's not a finite game. It's an infinite game.
Yeah.
Now the other thing that we made sure is how do we now take care of the individuals bringing down their emotional overload.
Mm.
So let's say I got angry. I'll come to Richa. Hey, Richa, I'm
Mm.
getting very angry at this person here. I'm getting frustrated. What
Yeah.
would you do? Hey, what is it here? Tell me. And so on. Correct? So
Yeah.
there is this person who is available for me to share
Yeah.
what is going on with me. And
Yeah.
therefore, I take some of the load and say, okay,
See.
can you share with me?
Yeah.
Right? And therefore, the load has come down.
Come down.
What we have done today is to make sure that every person of that sort in the
Mm.
system is now available
Mm.
for the student to
Mm.
take help. To notice,
Mm.
Richa is now thinking. How do I know it? Looking at her face.
Yeah.
Right? Looking at the face uh, will give me a lot more as long as I'm close to you, as
Okay.
long as I'm a good friend of yours.
Yeah.
Right? Looking
Yeah.
at you, my mom looks at me and says, "Hey, you're hungry."
Mm.
Nobody else can tell me that
Yeah. Yeah.
because she is observed.
Mm.
That closeness helped. Well, mom is not there in a residential college,
Mm.
but there are friends.
Mm.
Now, if there is a possibility of creating friends
Mm.
within whatever fold that I have,
Mm.
then it will definitely help.
Mm.
That's what we do exactly in life skills class. We get them to sit around, chat about something that
Mm.
is common to them.
Mm.
It could be posing a question and trying to answer uh, and get the perspectives from others. And we could do it in the form of a fun-filled activity, etc., etc. The message there is get together, get what do you say? Uh, you now create friends, right?
Yes. We are
And you
stronger
get
together.
along. You get along with those people.
Yeah.
Right? Get along has nothing to do with saying yes, etc., etc. It is about knowing the other
Mm.
person.
Yeah.
Right? So our theme has been getting along in the first semester when they join,
So it
especially
is
those
for
kids.
everyone, sir. It's for
Yeah.
everybody.
So initially we started with the 17-year-olds,
Mm.
thinking that that is where we need to focus on. But
Mm.
to our surprise, we had to do it for postgraduates as well as research scholars.
Mm.
So now
Got
it has expanded to all the three categories of people, categories of students that join us.
it. Mm.
Right? Several different ways of getting into such a challenge,
Yeah.
emotional challenge. Okay,
Yeah.
and these are very different from undergraduates are different from graduates are different from research scholars.
Yeah.
Now comes the time available. How do we now tackle those? So what we do is we take external help. those professionals who are trained enough to gather information about the student by talking to them and and using certain tools for first finding out and helping the student with certain tools that will help them when the tight corner happens to them.
Mm. Yeah.
Right? And today at IIT Madras, we also involve in, as people in this system, we also involve in uh, smoothing that corner that they face. Past 1 year has been that way. We have, since we changed the system to the better, right? And small things matter. Small things matter. I don't know if I have to tell you this, but it is coming to my lips. You can edit it later.
Sure, sir.
6 days back, there was this Bhubaneswar student.
Mm.
2 days back, it was this Guwahati student.
Yeah.
One was a fall from the 5th floor.
Yeah.
Could have been avoided easily.
Mm.
The other was the ceiling fan and hanging. Could have been avoided easily if they had looked at WHO notes.
Mm.
It very clearly states that you remove those that aid easily.
Mm.
Right? So if you come to IIT Madras next time, go to the hostels, none of the terraces are open.
Mm.
The design of our new hostel is such that there is no opening outside.
Mm.
The two wings are there, and in between I have the corridor. We designed in such a way that it is safe.
Mm.
That is completely within our control, systems control.
Mm.
So I'm saying that is also very important because
Mm.
that way you give enough opportunity for the kid to come to a professional, come to a teacher, come to a
Yeah.
friend and
Yeah.
seek help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lastly, it is a stigma
Yeah.
for one to ask for help because I've
Mm.
not done that in my life
Mm.
as a topper.
Mm.
It is below my prestige to ask somebody for help
Mm.
because I've
Yeah.
been always on top.
Mm.
Right? The pinnacle has no, uh,
Yeah.
and therefore it has been a challenge for me.
Stop.
And if I learn to ask, Richard, can you help me? That's all.
Mm.
And the other person would want to find out, want to help, give ways, etc., etc. That one click of the button changes the whole scenario for you.
Mm. Yeah.
There's so many people around to help you around, as long as you ask,
Mm.
because it is not possible for people to just see you like your mom and understand what is going on. Even
Yeah.
moms miss, by the way.
Mm.
Go ahead with the next question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've taken too long to answer.
No, Professor Siva. So much to learn. But I also want to probe further into that, right? You did talk about why there is a rise, right, and top institutes in India. But then I also want to understand from a perspective saying there's a rise in India in youth, dying by suicide. Is there a perspective you have on that? Why in India, right? Why in India? Why in top institutes of India? Is there anything to also say with, I don't know, maybe the size is increasing? Is our policies changing? Is that something also to add to why it is happening?
So the the quick answer that I can give you is expectations.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about only about external expectations.
Hmm.
It is how I built myself. That internal expectation also makes a huge difference. Today, when I look at the students, every moment they judge themselves. Every moment you'll be astonished. Of course, I'm talking about IIT Madras because that's my home, and that's where I can easily observe. But this is one single factor. Judging.
Judging yourself, I think,
Right.
also not a,
That's a limiting belief.
yeah.
But that limiting belief has helped me to come to this top level.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough. Let me do more. I'm not good enough. Let me do more. I'm not good enough. Let me do more.
Yeah.
Right? But how much more? So when you reach the ceiling, there is this aspect that comes into picture, right? And that expectation, that judging your own self, and therefore calling yourself something which is not you, not the real you, has been gripping our top institutes, right? And now top it with many other expectations, practical expectation. Today, Richa, unfortunately, everybody wants to get into the top college, and they find out how it can be done. There is this word called factory.
Yeah.
Now, if I have to do that, I have to take my product and take it to the factory.
Yeah.
And this is happening. This trend is now more and more and more. Everybody is now taking loan.
Yeah.
Not for college education, but to put them into the factory. I don't know if you've gone to any factory. The factory is
Studied myself there but my parents observed changes in me and brought me back.
and therefore good. You have a personal experience there, and that factory shop floor is not as great. It is very greasy. It's not as beautiful as at home, and therefore you can slip and fall. Nobody notices you. Slip and fall. Nobody. And this has happened. And when you come successfully, it's a lot more difficult for you because the cliff has now increased in its height.
Yeah. Yeah.
And therefore the danger is much, much more for us. And it is for us also to look at ways and means, not in a general fashion, but to be particular and find out. Thankfully, there are many of us who are working towards that. What I did as curricular courses has helped quite a bit. The students now realize where their status, what they're doing, where their Freudian slips are, trying to find out whether there is a change that they can implement them for themselves. And since it is curricular, they have the time to work on themselves. Today, around 750 students have signed up for happiness course alone. I'm not talking about all the other courses. Just one single course has attracted 700 students registering and about 5 times that wanting to do the course.
Wow.
But no seat is available. Of course, we are limited in terms of this thing. We're trying our means to find out how to design this course, etc., so that maximum benefit comes in. The reason why I'm telling you this is they're waiting for an answer.
Yeah.
Right? And you're not new to this, right? Because I know your personal experiences. You're not new to this. The person doesn't make a decision of that extreme action one day.
Yeah.
The close people only after it has happened understand, oh my God,
I understood.
I missed it. I missed noticing.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the person that we missed was giving certain signals.
Yeah.
Which went unnoticed.
Right.
If the person herself or himself will be able to notice and make amendments appropriately in order to live a life that is free may not be completely free, but lessen the stress.
Yeah.
We have solved the problem.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? And each person comes with several degrees of this. Right?
Yeah.
There is this maximum who has to take medical help.
Yeah.
There is this level where we need to have a proactive action in
Yeah.
terms of giving them tools, giving them ideas in
Yeah.
relation to how to tackle certain things, right? So
Yes.
that there's an opportunity that they have,
Mm.
possibilities of using those tools
Mm.
that provide them with.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So that they build that mental resilience, right? The tools help them do that. Well, rightly said, sir. And you have yourself been a dean for so many years, and I know um, with how much fierceness you implemented a lot of these strategies that really helped in reducing suicides in the past and in IIT Madras as well. Right? So I also want you to. So one is definitely course. I think you spoke a lot about life skills course, happiness course, so that they are given that time. They get along with each other. They also have a social bonding. They also make friends, right? Because I think that's also a skill in 11, 12 when we
You
were
know, even if not friends, getting along.
getting along, right? You know somebody, so you're right, and you're developing those. You're getting those tools to help you support you when you're you're reaching that ceiling that you've been talking about. When you think if you're aware, we also give tools. How do I sort of manage it, right? So like you
Correct.
beautifully said, the my load gets distributed if it's with two people. If I could share, right?
Right, right.
Okay. So, what more strategies? What more things that you think you have implemented that have helped reduce the suicides at IIT Madras?
Good question. Uh, See, the first thing that we did was to be compliant with whatever the task force had uh, given us guidelines.
Hmm.
And we are very what do you say? We wish to be completely compliant,
Hmm.
right? So that's the starting point.
Yeah.
Because people who are in that zone know what are to be done, been there, done that. So the
Hmm.
first thing that we want to do is to complete that particular compliance, right?
Hmm.
The compliance could be just the bare minimum to start with.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of other guidelines that WH has come up with and have been sort of updating every year,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because there was no what is that media,
Yes.
social media available 15 years ago.
Yes.
I need to now change the guidelines
Yes.
appropriately, right?
Yes.
Uh, and all said and done, there is a discipline necessary for the kid, which is not something that you can expect just like that, right?
Yeah.
All of us go through this.
Yeah.
You want to call it as habit or addiction, it does happen.
Hmm.
And today, the design of the social media is such that they just beat every one of us.
Yeah.
They're in the race to
Yeah.
sort of catch up with us, catch
Yes.
up with us,
Yes.
catch up.
Our
So
attention.
we have a lot, we have a lot of things to do in that direction.
Hmm.
Right? We need to catch up with these designers who
Hmm.
come up with these social media attractions.
Hmm.
Not easy, but we need to be running closer to them,
Hmm.
and that's what we are constantly asking. What is it that is new that has come up?
Hmm.
Richa, we as professors who meet them at least for a couple of hours a day should know what is out there,
Yes.
right? I myself is at fault. I'm not in Instagram. I'm not in Facebook. I'm not in what is the other?
Snapchat these days.
Yes,
Snapchat. Hmm.
Snapshot. So today, I
Snapchat.
mean, there are more of other
Yes.
things that have come up,
Yes.
and I'm not in those. So how will I know what they
Yeah.
go through, right?
Yeah.
Unless I go through, I cannot empathize with what is happening today.
Yeah.
Today, the final year student is a generation away
Yeah.
from the new generation that is joining.
Yes.
It is coming down and
They're
down,
down. Yes.
right?
Yes.
The first year student looks down upon the final year student because he or she does not know
Mm. Yes.
how to use a
Yes.
particular social media.
Yes.
Technology is just going at a speed.
Yes.
We are really we are struggling, Richa, in terms of how we can tackle the chat GPT type of problem.
Mm.
Saying problem here
Mm.
because we need to change completely the way we assess the students.
Mm.
Right? Of course, they need to know catch up with chat GPT also. So
Mm.
there are both sides of this coin that we need to
Yeah.
now tackle. Right?
Yeah.
We give an assignment. It's very simple. I just have to ask my assistant called ChatGPT, and there is Gemini, there is this, there is that, right? There is Siri. So many things.
Yes.
I have no access to so many of them
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Therefore, now learning becomes something that is a burden,
Mm.
right? So
Mm.
we need to now constantly change the curriculum and
Mm.
assessing the students, etc.,
Mm.
etc.
Mm.
Believe me, I'm the only one in this race who thinks that no exam policy is the best policy. I'm singled out,
Mm.
but that's the case with every university because that is their what do you say icing on the cake that
Yes.
they cannot give up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are under pressure. Richa. I mean, don't mistake me for saying this. We are under
Mm.
pressure. Oh, okay. If I don't do that, my rank will now come down.
Mm.
I'll become like a remote school
Yeah.
in the global arena,
Mm.
right? And therefore, I'm also under stress to do certain things.
Mm.
When
Mm.
I say I'm talking about IIT,
Institute. Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
institute is now looking at balancing these things. And
Mm.
balance is not a single day's act, single moment's act. It has to be done every time.
Every time.
And
Right.
therefore, we have a task at hand.
Mm.
There are many things that we need to still do, right?
Mm.
And we don't want fairness to be affected in this whole exercise. If
Mm.
one has access to something, and one who does not have access to something, then the society is going to definitely suffer.
Yeah.
IIT is also a society.
Yes. Very nicely said, sir. So I think one thing that I really also took away from our discussions, what you said that there is WHO which has given these guidelines. I think even adhering to that, you gave some examples of the recent suicides also. How if we would have adhered to that, maybe that could have been avoided, right?
Right.
Somebody would have bought time. In fact,
It's called restricting access.
restricting access, right? In fact, so I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday because we were all
We
very
don't have
worried.
we don't have stores in the campus which sell sharp
Laser.
edges,
Yes.
the rat poison, etc., etc.
Hmm.
Not that they will not be able to go outside and do it, but at
We are
least
buying time.
exactly
Yes.
you got it right.
Yes.
Right? I'm just telling one example. There are so many
Yes.
examples that
So
are
the friend.
easily implementable.
Yes. Yes. And very
And
rightly, sir. I was
that's why
speaking
I'm
to.
sad, Richa. So, sorry to
Hmm.
say this. You can edit it appropriately. I'm sorry to say, can I not restrict access
Hmm.
in such a way that I cannot fall from fifth floor?
Hmm.
Sorry, I'm just telling you this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And similar is the other case.
Yes.
I myself
Yes.
spent one full week designing something that will help
Yes.
in
Yes.
terms of in not doing it within the 4 walls.
Yes. Yes. Raising that alarm.
I've been telling directors, I've been telling deans to deaf ears.
Hmm. Yes. Yes. In fact, sir, I think going to that only yesterday, we were all, as an alumni, we were all talking and we were very sort of starting saying, what is that we could do, right? And but everything we are doing still, we want that to be a suicide-free India. And the numbers really, really, how do we come to zero? Where are we going wrong? And actually, one of our friends said, we never knew he's a CEO of a big organization in US. He said, you know what? I attempted suicide when I was in campus. I hanged myself to the um, ceiling fan. And the good thing was that the electrician hasn't done a great job. So the fan only fell down, right? And he's like, that's when, because, and that gave him that time to reflect, right? So he was very thankful to not so great fitting. And he said, because of that, I'm here, right? That so that buying time is a very
Let me tell a story. Yeah. Since the student has already left, he has progressed to the extent I'm talking about 8 years, 10 years ago. Okay.
yes.
So just a small story so that you get the picture. This student attempted 5 times
Mm,
unsuccessfully, of course,
mm,
right? The sixth time, he was noticed by the friend and brought to the hospital. So he was in the casualty. I go there, looking at him, I asked that question. Why did you want to do it? His answer baffled me because what he said was, sir, my dad passed away 2 years back and survived by my mom and sister apart from me. Right? We are a family and I have to take care of them. There is a financial burden that I have to take care of. I'm talking about a student who had scholarship, who had some additional earning that was possible, but not enough, completely enough.
mm,
The other thing that happened was when my dad was alive, he kept saying, you are useless, you are useless. And that sort of ringing in my mind.
mm,
These two things I'm not able to bear. I have no other goal. So I asked him, okay, the other thing that is ringing in your mind, I don't know how to solve it immediately, but do you think if financial problem is solved, will you be able to, relieve yourself of some stress? He said, yes, sir. So I told him, please call your mom and sister to come to Chennai. They were in another city. Come to Chennai. I will pay for their accommodation. You stay with them, whatever it takes. So I asked about his sister, what she is doing, etc., and came to know that she is capable of work. So I called the CCW and said, "Can you give me? Can you give this lady some work?" He readily agreed. So she started working.
mm.
Stress came down.
Yeah.
Now the self-confident self of him also helped in terms of getting rid of the other ringing
Yeah.
that was happening in him. He said the day that he came to me after that, he told me, "Sir, I'm completing my degree here. Thanks to you, this could happen, and I'm now progressing towards the next step in life where I'll be financially well off, and therefore my sister doesn't have to work here, etc., etc." And right now, he's in a very good position. The reason I'm telling you this is that is that particular moment
Mm.
that took him to the threshold.
Yeah.
Somebody had to be reducing. At that time, it was me. I'm not boasting. I'm doing this, but
Yeah.
I had to look at that kid who
Mm.
was going through this. I never
Yeah.
went through that kind of a thing,
Yeah.
and therefore I didn't know. But the empathy helped in terms of finding out what it is.
Yes.
The result was this, and therefore the moments that you are talking about are very similar.
Yes.
If there is a possibility of such things where you have some restrict, first he didn't know how to put the tie the knot properly. Thankfully, but the thing is, um, that's basically what you're looking at. Simple guidelines are given in black and white just for you to follow.
Yeah.
I called the director of IIT Guwahati, told him, DJ, you know me.
Yeah.
There is this restriction to access available. add this also into the agenda of what you have to do.
Yes.
He really
Yes.
agreed. Of
Yes.
course, implementation may take time, but he
Yes.
agreed.
Mm.
Right? So it's a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And we need to now look at it as, oh, okay, I'm awake, but I have to be awake all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is my take on this whole thing.
So it has to be consistent. I think one of the things I also hear is that the efforts have to be
Sustaining.
consistent, sustaining. It's not like
Sustainable.
aaj maine ek din course kar diya. One day I did the
Exactly.
course and it's done. No, it has to be there year on year, month on month, in various forms, right? From um, restricting access to lethal means to
So
curriculum
today,
to
today we look at sustainability. We
yeah,
ask the security officer
hmm,
every week they have to record
right,
whether all these terraces are closed, etc.,
right,
etc., etc. Not
hmm,
only that, today, thanks to the current director, the director said, every one of you have to tell me how the student is.
yeah,
We call it as Kushal response.
acha.
So
What is
every
that,
one
sir?
of us have to do it as faculty members.
Acha, so you have certain students assigned to you that you have to ensure how are they doing. So you're
Correct.
like a
Not ensure, at least tell the administration,
hmm,
and so that it is spotted now and they want to do something. Correct?
right.
Now, and it is a multi-pronged approach, by the way, Richa. They are getting information from various sources,
Hmm,
the warden, etc., etc. All that is now made sustainable. That is, everybody has to pitch in and give it. If
hmm,
not, there will be a call from the director.
got it. Wow. So
Yeah,
who all?
so
So
nice of you that
wardens,
he has done this.
you said
It's
multi-pronged approach. So faculty is involved, wardens are involved. Who else, sir?
the staff members are involved, the
Staff
hostel staff
members.
are involved, right?
And
The student Mitra team and all those, I've already established that earlier. They're also now made sustainable. They have to
hmm.
record, they have to give the reports to the Mitra advisor, Sati advisor, and so on. So the
So
system is now
every student is tagged to all of these people, and there is a report about the student coming from everybody.
right. Not so there are there are also components where it is only event dependent.
Mm-hmm.
This has happened. Okay, in gate the score was very less.
Hmm.
So the gate office is supposed to give that information to
Right.
the administration. So
Hmm.
they have now brought all of them together.
So they've strengthened the link between the academics and the wellness support to the student, right?
Correct.
From referral from warden to not referral, this is report about their well-being from warden to student to staff member to faculty member, as well as some of these marks are low, attendance is low, all of that is getting collated person
And,
by person.
and technology is helping us.
Hmm.
Right? Of course, we are not yet perfect,
Right,
but
but
the system is in
system
place
is like this.
for use. Right?
Yes.
Every attendance is now centrally available.
Every attendance is centrally arranged, which is very important point, sir. I think these are not everywhere, even these things are implemented in that way.
Right. And for every category of students, for example, if it is a research scholar, they have to do biometric every day.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
they don't do, then that report goes.
Hmm.
Right. You may say, oh, okay, too much of monitoring, but
Hmm.
yet right now that is what we are trying to do. I'm not saying it is going to completely work,
Hmm.
but at least we have now looked at, okay, can we sustain it? Can we sustain it? Can we make it something that is regular? So
Hmm.
every month, a faculty may think it is headache, but every month we are supposed to give the status of the student.
So monthly status. So that's how many students per faculty member or per warden per staff member? Is
So
there
if you
something?
look at average,
Hmm.
we are about right now we are inching towards 700 faculty members
Right. Right.
and about 11,000 students.
Hmm. Hmm.
roughly about 14, 15 students per on an average, per faculty on
Got
an
it.
average, right?
Got it. And
And
so what if
we are supposed to actually go along with them to an eating place. It could be mess and have outside of office meetings
oh, very nice.
so that they can open up.
Yes, yes.
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 So those are some things that are put in place,
Hmm.
right?
And I think monitored also. It's not just like
Monitored
you have
also.
to do it, but you have to ask. So does
Yeah.
it affect you? Let's say if somebody is not doing, some faculty member, what happens then?
So that's why I'm saying evolving. So we need to have schedule of why, a schedule of what to do with that kind of
Hmm.
slips
Hmm.
or not doing.
Hmm.
So Richa, reward and penalty is a part of the whole exercise, and we all
Got
know.
it.
And we are now finding out what all to do in order to make
Hmm.
sure. If you ask the director, he will give a bunch of things that he is thinking about, bunch of things that he has implemented, etc., etc. But it is an evolving stuff where we want to make sure that our faculty members participate in this
Right. Right.
because we don't want any gap,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
remember, the probability is very, very small, and we
Yes.
need to work on that reduction of probability.
Yes, yes. No, very rightly said, sir, because I think IIT Madras is probably the only institute where I've seen that you have involved faculties quite a bit, which is a wonderful thing, right? Because at a lot of institutes, we also hear it's very difficult to involve faculty. We cannot do anything there, right? Well, it could be, but like you said, there are systems still put in place at a most premier institute of the country. So it's it's possible to have some framework where uh, there could be systems where well-beings are also monitored and
Yeah,
not
and
just
also
like
see one thing is they don't want to take the load,
yeah.
but if the administration asks only for information,
Hmm.
it is okay, right?
Hmm.
Say I don't have to do something about it. I just have
Hmm.
to spot and give the information.
Hmm.
So administration is also looking at what is it that will not put too much stress on the individual
Right.
who is delivering, but at
Right.
the same time get the information related to the student.
Right. Right. So, sir,
Lot
you
more to talk about, but I
so
have
can I?
another
You have
meeting.
a class at 11?
Yeah, I have a meeting at 11, but
Okay.
we'll wrap it up in a few minutes. Is that
Uh,
okay?
5 minutes, sir. Will that? So, sir, you spoke about guidelines from WHO. You spoke about this
Task force.
multi-pronged approach.
The task force that the government has been very keen and has been
Hmm.
doing a
You want
very
to, sir? Let
wonderful
me then
job.
talk about the task force because I don't think
So
we've.
this task force is about suicide prevention,
Hmm.
and it is an act, by the way.
Hmm.
So this suicide prevention task force
Hmm.
keeps meeting quite often and
Hmm.
amends the
Hmm.
guidelines that are introduced, apart
Hmm.
from the other part, which is a survey that they are doing. So if
Hmm.
you happen to meet any one of those task force members, they'll be able to give you a lot more information as to what goes on. I was
Hmm.
just there for
Hmm.
a couple of years, but there are members who have been there for a long time. They'll
Hmm.
be able to give you more information.
Hmm.
There's some statistics is very useful
Hmm.
in order to find out what is it that we need to do in
Hmm.
terms of reducing,
Got it.
right? And
Got it.
what should the institutions do. So they have multiple players for what they should do, etc., given with clarity.
Got it. Got it. Probably I'll speak to
The
somebody there, sir.
document, if you can get hold of, I think
Yes.
2023 there was an amendment. I don't know
Okay.
if they have done it this year, but they must be at it. They must
Sure.
be coming out with document this time. So have a look at that.
Right.
Of course, all of them are aware of WHO guidelines, and therefore, definitely the pertinent points related to India will be there.
Absolutely.
And
So,
I, for one, feel the the top institutes where this is a problem should also have one more task force.
Right.
Put it.
Right.
And I'm sure the people in the top must be thinking about it. But such a task force also will help in terms of getting a more particular
Hmm.
information as well as implementations that are done.
Right. Sir, if I may also ask, probably the last question, right? What are the challenges for an institution of your size and, right, as an administrator, what are the challenges that you face implementing, implementing these things?
Several challenges, Richa. Technology can fail.
Hmm.
There will be resistance in terms of providing information or additional forms,
Hmm.
hiding the information,
Hmm.
right? The cooperation essentially is what I'm talking about. Is the other factor,
Hmm.
right? The third one is about we don't know certain things that happen beyond the folds of the institute.
Hmm.
A student came and said, "My parents are getting divorced, and I'm just getting worried."
Hmm.
Right? It is something that I will not be able to handle as such.
Hmm.
Right? In the sense that I can ask that person to go for counseling, etc. But
Hmm.
that's what it is. Therefore, yesterday I sat with one of these students, and you must have seen this news. This is NIA officer's daughter,
Hmm.
who is a girlfriend of his,
Hmm. Acha.
who suddenly has disappeared, meaning
Hmm.
passed away. And he rushed over there to find out what exactly, because just a few minutes before that, they had chatted and they were very joyfully exchanging what to do for the coming December, where to go, etc.,
Hmm.
etc. And she told about what she would do and how do we meet, etc., etc. All these in a very joyful mode. And
Hmm.
10 minutes later, she's not there.
Hmm.
The fellow was shocked
Hmm.
beyond this.
Hmm.
But it is middle of the semester.
Hmm.
How do we tackle that?
Hmm.
Fortunately, director had put up a website where there are a bunch of listeners.
Hmm.
So we have a listeners club.
Hmm.
In the listeners club now, we have students, we have faculty, we have staff members
Hmm.
who are participating in it.
Hmm.
It's very useful. Many times I hear from the listeners, oh, I got a couple of students this time coming and sharing their, and therefore the emotional burden comes down. We
Right.
also get to understand, oh, okay, this is what is happening,
Hmm.
right? I need to, of course, do the appraisal to the director as to what is happening, etc. But setting that aside, the listeners club is now growing.
Hmm. Hmm.
We have now made it a part of uh, a, a movement in terms of learning to listen.
Hmm. Hmm. Such a big skill also. Got it. Yes, you have to leave, sir. Probably I'll catch up with you later. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for
Thanks,
your
Richa.
time.
Nice talking to
Super
you.
helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I hope,
nice,
sir, together
nice
we are
talking
able
to
to
you.
do more.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.